ko Kat Lintott toku ingoa. My name is Kat Lintott, and I am from Ngāi Tahu, which is the Māori Indigenous culture of Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Perfect. So what do you do and how did you get there?
I had no plan, really. I loved art, I guess, at high school, and always loved architecture and the beauty of all of that kind of stuff. And then I grew up in the Air Force, so that was like a big part of my life, moving every 6 months to 2 years. So it's really built a lot of like resilience and the love of change. So I love like new challenges, meeting new people, traveled the world and made videos in exchange for food and accommodation with my husband, or now husband, Ben Foreman. We also started a drone company together. So really curious, doing random stuff. And I think during that time, I was starting to like understand like who I was a little bit more. And one of the epiphanies I'd had was that, I was really shying away from technology. I wasn't like leaning into it because I was quite scared of AI. I was scared of VR. I was scared of robots. Like, that all of that stuff just freaks me out. But I realized like if it freaks me out and I'm like, don't have any say in it, then I can't really, I have no control over it. So that's kind of when I pivoted slightly and started working at a company called 8i, where we turned humans into holograms. And then from that started Wrestler with my husband. And Wrestler is really a creative agency. We make videos and for a lot of like Allbirds, the New Zealand Police, lots of government agencies. So we've kind of like gone on a crazy journey, but it all kind of came from that catalyst of like leaning into it. And like for me, like content is like a space where we can make impact. So how do we create like VR experiences or games or even advertising in a way that the message is like empowering and it's like a good message? Yeah, so that's kind of me in a quick nutshell. So what inspires me is new things. So new ways of doing things. So at the moment, over the last 6 years or so, the blockchain has been a really interesting, thing that I've kind of like been observing. And, over the last year, like NFTs have become such an interesting space to fund content, because VR and gaming is still such a not new exactly, but like the way that we fund it is still in a different space to film or TV, for example. We've just really seen a new opportunity of how to fund, world building with games and interactive media and books and graphic novels and everything, but from like NFTs or blockchain, building communities in that space. So that's kind of one thing that's really inspiring me at the moment. And then the other one is my children, because, and it's kind of like an obvious answer, but they're really curious. But actually it's more like if I reflect on my relationship with my parents and where that's at, and then the relationship I have with my children and how I can influence them, it's like making me reflect a lot about who I am as well. And so they inspire me to, I guess, question societal norms and what's actually a good rule versus like a dumb rule that's just somehow we've inherited it. I guess the line that I came up with when I was at journaling coming into this interview was follow your curiosity, not your career. So I think the idea of, if I was telling my high school self, like, you're going to be a virtual reality like director or whatever, I was like, what the hell is virtual reality? Like, I have no idea what that is. So it's about the convergence of interest. So if you're interested in writing and you're interested about fantasy and sci-fi, I just watch copious amounts of fantasy sci-fi movies, like that's just a passion of mine. Or I just love tramping or whatever it is. Like, you just follow the things that make you curious, and at some point there's like intersectionality of all of those things that then become something that you can potentially have a career with, or it's a really cool hobby, or you connect and make a best friend out of those things. Like, it doesn't have to be all about work, but yeah, that's probably it for me. I think a big one for me at the moment I'm struggling with is imposter syndrome. Taking on a new big project at the moment, and someone's like, Kat, you've got to creative direct this project, like, you're the right person for it. And I just immediately got like imposter syndrome again, but everyone else sees it in me. So you've got to have imposter syndrome if you're going to be continually growing and evolving yourself. So yeah, that's something I need to keep telling myself.
It's so
Yeah.
funny. People tell me this, and maybe it's just like I always say, it's my low grade narcissism. I never experienced imposter syndrome ever. I just go in there and just do it, and
Right.
just,
Amazing.
I think the beauty of what I'm hearing, because I've heard a lot of this really impressive Kiwi ladies on this interview, and I think what New Zealand grants you is like the ability to explore in their space. Because there's so few of you compared to the rest of the world, right? You know, when you're in Manhattan or in DC or Los Angeles, there's no time for you to kind of sit and just ponder, because there's 100,000 people right behind you. Like, but it's great. But no, I think you guys are amazing. I mean, you know, it's all in your head. Your imposter syndrome, it's all in your head, Kat, because you're great. And that's why I asked you to come on here to tell your story, because you know, you're unique and you guys are super successful and you're doing something right. And
Thank you. And thank you for starting IFX and the movement of giving people voices, I guess.